So Jay, you're out, you're free, you're rehabilitated. What's next? What's happening? What you gonna do?
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome back to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your newest co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is my co-host,
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. You can find us on Facebook or on Twitter at No Shock Pod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Tuesday night at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central. We would also like to thank Bob Zerl for his technical contributions. Our sponsor is Ragged Records of Davenport, Iowa and Rock Island, Illinois. We would like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. And who do we have this week, Jeff?
We have Ricky Warwick of the Black Star Riders and Thin Lizzy fame, and also of the band The Almighty.
And Circus Diablo.
Oh, yeah.
Well.
Really awesome interview. Super, super excited about this one. For me, it's almost like a little bit of a pinch me moment because, wow, I just got to talk to Ricky Warwick. It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of the Black Star Riders. I've seen them live at Rascals. They came here a couple years ago in Moline.
That's right. Yes, they did.
Hopefully, once all this pandemic stuff's over, maybe we can get them back.
Absolutely. Well, let's not waste any time. Let's get to the interview.
Thank you.
Good night. Hello, Ricky. This is Eric Nesbitt with the Nothing Shocking podcast.
Hi, Eric. How you doing?
Doing fantastic. Hey, I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Yeah. Hey. How you doing, Ricky?
Hi, Jeff. How's it going, man?
Good.
Well, first of all, we want to thank you for agreeing to do this on such last-minute notice. So we're excited to have you. So thanks so much. Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to get right into it here. So can you hear us okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we can. So let's get kind of right into this. The word is that you have a new single that's coming out in October, and then that's following up to a new album in January. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, new single's coming out October 16th worldwide on Nuclear Blast Records. The song is called Fighting Heart, co-written with Keith Nelson. Keith used to be the guitar player in Buckcherry, so people will know Keith from Buckcherry. Keith produced my solo record and co-wrote most of the tunes with me on it. The album follows January 29th, 2021, and the album is called When Life Was Hard and Fast, and it'll be my 5th solo record.
So speaking of that, this is going to be strictly a Ricky Warwick solo, and this is not going to be with the Fighting Hearts. Is this going to be just your own entity?
Yeah, I've never recorded with the Fighting Hearts. The Fighting Hearts are basically my touring band, and the Fighting Hearts is like it's who's ever available to tour. So when I make the solo records, I like to just put them out under my own name. Although I did use a band on the solo record. I used Robbie Crane from Black Star Riders on bass, Keith Nelson, as I already said, he played guitar. I used Xavier, who used to be the drummer in Buckcherry, played drums. So it was pretty much Buck Star Riders on the album.
Very cool. So it's going to be released in January. Are you able to give us a title of the album? Is there any kind of insights that you can give us, a little sneak preview right now during this interview?
I mean, like I said, the album's called When Life Was Hard and Fast, and that's the title track of the album. That's also the first track on the album. I mean, the album was recorded last year. It was recorded last spring in Hollywood, in California. I've got some great guest musicians on there. I've got Luke Morley, who plays in a really cool UK band called Thunder. He's playing guitar on there. I've got Andy Taylor from Duran Duran and Power Station playing some guitar. Joe Elliott of Def Leppard, of course, and Dizzy Reed from Guns N' Roses playing keyboards on a couple of tracks. So I'm very excited about it. Like I said, it's my 5th solo record. I'm just delighted to get it out there.
Absolutely. So how many tracks are we going to be seeing on this album? 10, 12?
We have 11.
Oh, okay.
We have 11 tracks on the album, yep.
The writing process for this album, we hear from artists all the time. They say, hey, we wrote 20 songs, but we could only select 10 or 11 or 12 or whatever else. Were you able to hold back some songs for maybe a future project?
Well, Rick, I write all the time. I mean, I've got about 100 songs on the go at any one time. I've already pretty much done the follow-up album to this one, even though this one isn't even out yet. So, I mean, I just write constantly. I write every day. So, for me, it's not a question of, you got to do an album. You need to get together, 15 songs to pick 12. I've got material on the go constantly. I mean, one of my biggest influences, and it's his birthday day, is Springsteen. I look at him, I look at his work ethic, and I think it's a privilege to do what I do, and I never take it for granted. So for me to get up every day and pick up a guitar and write a song is something that I love, and I'm always writing. I'm always working, so I've always got songs on the go.
Do you find any differences in writing songs for your solo stuff versus Black Star Riders or any other band you might be working with?
Yeah, I mean, I can be as narcissistic as I want when I'm writing solo stuff. I can just go ahead and finish it. I mean, usually what I'll do, the process isn't that much different. Usually I'll start with a guitar riff, and I'll work on a melody and lyrics, and then I'll take it so far, and I'll take it to, in this case, it was Keith Nelson, who we worked out with in the solo record. Sometimes I'll finish it on my own if I just think that, I can go ahead and finish this, and then I'll just finish it on my own. But with Black Star Riders, I'm thinking about what Scott Gorham's going to play on it, what Kristen Martucci's going to play, how Chad's going to play the drums, what Robert Crane will bring to it. I'm thinking about, when I'm writing a song for them, I'm thinking about those guys in mind, and that's very, very much in the forefront of my thoughts. How are they going to perceive, and what are they going to add to the song? With the solo stuff, that it's wide open. It can go in any direction or anywhere, because I'm just really thinking about myself. Like I said, it's a very narcissistic thing. Yeah,
absolutely. So, how things have changed over the years. Technology with recording. The availabilities now to record in one's house. You can go any part of your house and create an album.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of artists that really shouldn't be artists creating albums that are not musicians at all. But I guess that kind of leads into the next question: is are you a fan of working with the new technology? Are you still rooted in that? Let's all go into the studio as a band and let's create something in the studio. How does it work for you?
That's a great question. I think it depends to me, it depends how you use it. I'm still very much of the fact that no matter how great the technology is, you cannot recreate the human spirit and the human soul. And I think that getting, 4 or 5 guys together in a room and them all looking at each other in the eye and playing and jamming, you can't recreate that no matter how good the technology is. You just can't. So for me personally, that's the way I like to get the backing tracks down. I like to get the drums down and the bass down as live as possible. I haven't really changed how I make albums that much in 30 years. That's the way I did it sort of when we first started off in the Almighty 30 years ago. But when it comes to doing vocals and guitars, obviously, with Pro Tools and stuff, it does make things go that bit faster. Obviously, editing is far quicker now. You can do a bunch of drum takes and edit them together. There's nobody needs to cut and splice the tape, which was, very, very tricky and very time consuming before all that. But I'm still a fan of getting the actual song done as live as possible and getting a feel and getting everybody's intensity and input into that song. I don't think you can substitute that with any technology personally.
Hey, Ricky, I was listening to, I think the last Black Star Riders, Another State of Grace this morning.
Yeah.
And I was kind of taken back a little bit by I think it came out in 2019, so pre-pandemic, but I was listening to it. Did you realize that it could be a soundtrack to the pandemic?
No, not at all. The album was done, recorded, it was recorded in February of last year, of 2019, long before any of this was even on the horizon.
I was just listening to it.
And
sorry.
Yeah, it's funny how sometimes you hear songs and you go, did you write that? That could be about something that's happening sort of right now, and it was written maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Songs have a way of coming around and being constant. That's one of the things I love about music. But no, it was all done and dusted way before the pandemic hit, and actually was released. It came out in September of last year.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but that's cool. Yeah, I'll take it.
And then I like how, sorry, with Facebook and social media and stuff like that, I see that you're embracing that. I haven't got into Facebook Live before, but I happened to be on I had a pop-up came up, I think it was early in August, with you did a Facebook Live presentation. Actually got on there and listened to that. It was pretty neat watching you interact with the fans. And then I saw you did a live acoustic show. And sold tickets. How's that going?
Yeah, I've been doing, when this pandemic really kicked in and everything started to get locked down, I just looked at ways that I could get the music out there and keep going like every other musician. I'm lucky that I've got a very, very loyal and a very amazing, fan base out there. I'm no fan of the online concert. I would prefer that I wouldn't have to do it. I'd much prefer to get out there and tour. But, in the present situation that we're in, there's no choice, and I think it's the next best thing. So I looked into ways of doing it. I mean, you can flick on Facebook Live and just stand there with a guitar and play into your phone, and it's fine. A lot of artists do that, but I wanted to make it more of an experience, and I used a platform called Stage It. Mm-hmm. And what I like about Stage It is that you can sell tickets up front, so people are actually buying a ticket for the show, and you can reward your top tippers, your top supporters. You can give them like merchandise. You can do like a Zoom call with them. You can do anything you want, basically. And it just felt more like as close as you're going to get to a real gig, but it was online. And I've done 5 of those now, and they've been fantastic. They've kept me going, and they've been a lot of fun. And something I'm actually really starting to enjoy them. It was a whole new concept to me. I wasn't sure how it was going to work, but it's worked out very well. And I've been doing one a month. I'm taking a break now until I think the next one's in December, and it's been great. Social media is there, good or bad, whether you like it or not. It definitely has a lot of pluses as well as the negative stuff, and God, man, if we didn't have it with this pandemic going on, where would we be? It'd be crazy,
And that kind of leads me to the next question I had for you. So as you've seen, artists now like yourself, you're trying to adapt to this pandemic and try to stay as busy as possible. And with record sales being what they are, non-existent for artists, do you see that this online playing live thing might be the next profitable thing for artists to do, that maybe in between when they're not on the road?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll ever take over from playing live. It's like I said earlier, recording an album. You can't beat that human interaction, and it's not going to replace it. But it's something that I'll keep going. I mean, the beauty of the Stage It thing is, we could do a little. We're on tour. Let's do a little live acoustic gig from the dressing room. A couple of hours before we go on, you can just do that kind of thing now. And I think that's something I'd look into continue doing. And maybe we'll do it. When live music is up and running again, sure, why not? Hey, this month I'm going to be doing a show from the house. Check it out. Mm-hmm. It's just another way of getting your stuff out there. I'm all for it.
How do you feel the demand for doing something like that is? Obviously, you've said you've done it 5 times. Do you feel like the demand is strong enough to push forward to keep doing it, or do you feel like maybe it's just the sign of the times during the pandemic right now, or how do you really see this going in the future?
Well, I'm very conscious that everybody's hurting, and everybody's hurting financially. Most people are. So, I keep my ticket prices for the show at $5. I treat it like it's a real gig, guys. I mean, I rehearse for it. I put the time and the effort into it as if I'm doing a real show. And so I'm very conscious of doing it once a month and not doing it once a week or every other week, because I think that's too much, and I think that's unfair to ask people to fork out that kind of cash. So I've been doing it once a month, which seems to work well. I'm taking a couple of breaks. I'm taking 2 months off from doing it now. I'll do one in December, and then I'll see where we're at with the pandemic in the new year. But, you know, I've been a fan myself. I always want to give value for money, and I think most of our fans are very blue collar people working hard, and I think they're very choosy about what they spend their money on, and rightly so. So I want to give them value for money. I don't want to feel like you know, I'm ripping them off, but at the same time, we all have to make a living. So you know, it's yeah. I mean, I think it's something I'm going to keep going. I think I'll keep doing the online thing now and again. Absolutely.
Well, let's touch upon Black Star Riders, since we kind of already touched on that before. I had a question. The last album that came out, Another State of Grace, in 2019. I guess maybe, what is the state of Black Star Riders? You know, with you doing your solo work and also Black Star Riders, how do you balance the two out? Is Black Star Riders constantly writing new music? And obviously you said you're constantly writing new music. How does that work out with your solo work and Black Star Riders work? How does that work?
Well, pretty much everybody else in Black Star Riders has something else that they're involved in. Obviously, Christian's involved with Corey Taylor. You know, Robbie Crane plays bass for quite a few artists. Scott Gorham's obviously still got Thin Lizzy when Lizzy goes out and does shows with. I'm obviously involved with that as well. And Chad's obviously in a couple of other bands as well. So, you know, in this day and age, it's probably not enough just to be in one band. And we're not, and we all get together. We work on a timeline, we work on a schedule. We say this year we're going to put a Black Star Riders album, we're going to tour. I mean, the album came out, Another State of Grace came out in September. We were due to, we toured for 7 weeks when it came out in the UK and Europe. We stopped for Christmas and the New Year, and then boom, the pandemic hit. We were supposed to be hitting America, South America, all the European festivals this summer. We're supposed to pretty much stay out until about this time, just doing Black Star Rider stuff. But obviously the pandemic just curtailed all that. So it's put us in a situation now where my solo record was recorded last year as well. I'd always planned to put it out this year. So I'm just going to go ahead with that anyway. But the new Black Star Riders record is written. We were due to record it next month here in LA, but obviously that's been put on hold because Scott lives in England and he can't fly, obviously for obvious reasons, and it just doesn't make sense to get everybody together in a studio right now to record the album. So we're going to sit on it until things get back to some kind of normality. But the new album's written, it's ready to go. Sadly, I don't think we'll ever get the time back that we wanted to tour Another State of Grace as much as we had, but there's nothing we can do about that. That's out of our control, and we just got to look to the future and push forward, you know?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Jeff.
You said that you also front Thin Lizzy when they play live. Is there any, what are your favorite songs to perform with them?
Oh, man. Where do I begin with that one?
They're so iconic that they're all just awesome.
Yeah, that's it. You know, they are. I mean, Lizzy's probably my favorite band of all time. Being Irish and growing up in Belfast, you know, Thin Lizzy was the soundtrack of my youth, and Phil was one of us. He was Irish, you know, and I just idolize him, and I still do. I just think he's the ultimate songwriter. He's the ultimate frontman. He had it all, and you know, the honor and the privilege for me to sing those amazing songs and those amazing lyrics that he wrote is just, you know, it's like winning the musical lottery. It's a dream come true. You know, probably my favorite album is the Black Rose album. And last year we played a festival in the UK, and it was the 40th anniversary of Black Rose, and we got to do the album in its entirety from start to finish, and that was just unbelievable. You know, we got to play songs like "Gotta Give It Up," which is a song we'd never really played before when I'd been in Lizzy. So that was one of my favorites. I love that song. Do Anything You Want To, first track on Black Rose. I've actually got the first verse of that tattooed on my leg, so that's how much that song means to me. You know, I mean, the songs, a couple of songs. I'd love to play Borderline. We've never done Borderline live. I think that's a beautiful song. I'd love to do that live with Lizzy. Jailbreak. None of it ever gets old. I mean, I just get up and I play those songs, and I look over to my left and I see Scott going there. The guy, you know, I used to idolize when I was a kid, and it's just, it's just always surreal. It always will be, you know?
Yeah, that's got to be so cool. That was my follow-up question was going to be, was there any songs you haven't performed with them that you wanted?
Yeah, like Borderline. I mean, you know, getting to do Black Rose ticked a lot of boxes for me last year. We played Thunder and Lightning. We played... what did we play off Thunder and Lightning? I'm trying to remember what we played off it. I can't remember. We played a couple of tracks last year we haven't played before, but there's a few, you know, that I'd like to revisit, and just, you know, we did It's Only Money off Nightlife a couple of times, which is a great song, but we've only played that live twice. I would love to revisit that song again. Yeah. So they're all great.
When you were first, you know, selected to front the Thin Lizzy, this version of Thin Lizzy with Scott, how intimidating was it for you to get out there and sing those iconic songs? I guess maybe the first live performance you ever done. Or it was. Yeah, great question. It was insane, as you can imagine. It was the most. You know, I've been very blessed in my career. Def Leppard took me out on tour with them way back in 2003, and I was playing solo acoustic. And the first show that I did with them, and it was about my third or fourth time I ever played solo acoustic, was in the Mandalay Bay Hotel in Vegas. You know, in the arena there, 14,000 sold out, and I walk on stage in front of a Def Leppard crowd, just me and an acoustic guitar. And I just remember going, "What the fuck am I doing?" You know, and played that whole first show, I think, with my eyes shut, and it was just so nerve wracking. I think, you know, I think I got away with it all right, because they kept me out on tour with them for about over a year after that anyway. But that toughened me up to go on and play in front of Def Leppard audiences with just me and acoustic guitar, and get a reaction, and not be intimidated, and not basically collapse, really toughened me up. So when Scott called me up and said, would I sing for Lizzy, I was pretty hardened, but I was very aware of the enormity of what it meant, and the effect they would have on a lot of people, good and also obviously very negatively, because there's obviously a lot of people, no Phil, no Lizzy, and I get that. But the lead singer of Thin Lizzy is Phil Lynott. He's a lead singer. That's it. Mm-hmm. I'm not. I'm just standing beside those shoes, getting to sing those songs, and keeping his legacy of those wonderful songs alive, and trying to bring them to people that maybe never got to see Lizzy first time round, or never got to see them at all, and want to hear those songs. That's how I look at it. I'm not the lead singer of Thin Lizzy. Phil Lynott's the lead singer of Thin Lizzy. That's end of story. And I've gone into it with that attitude. But to answer your question, the first show we did was Aberdeen in Scotland, and the tour had sold really well, but there was still maybe 3 or 4 venues that hadn't sold out, and we stood behind a kabuki, and the first song was "Are You Ready?" And I remember standing behind that kabuki waiting for it to drop, and we burst into "Are You Ready?" And I just remember I wanted to call my mum. You know, I was that scared. You know, I was like, and Scott leans over and like taps me on the side of the leg and goes, "Hey, bud, it'll be killer. You'll be all right." I fucking wanted to punch him. I wanted to go, what have you got me into? These people are going to crucify me. You know, I've already forgotten the first line of the first, you know, and then it drops and you're out there and you're doing your thing. And that tour was really weird, guys. I mean, because for the first 3 or 4 songs, everybody in the crowd was kind of looking at me going, "What's this guy selling? Is this guy going to be any good? Am I going to like this?" And you could see them just kind of, the expression on their faces, I'll never forget it. I was like really studying, how's he doing? How's he singing those songs? And then by the 5th and 6th song, you know, they started to get into it. And power of the internet, we played Aberdeen, the reviews went up, the rest of the tour sold out the next day.
Nice.
Fantastic.
That's awesome.
So people vote with their feet, you know, and I hope and I believe that I do it with an integrity and a humbleness and a complete love and respect of Thin Lizzy as a diehard fan, and that's always how I've approached it, you know.
Well, I guess I'm going to take the next question.
Sorry.
So I guess it's not going to be who of me, and I hope you don't mind. I got to ask you a Circus Diablo question. Is that okay? Yeah.
Absolutely, please do.
So maybe a lot of people don't realize it's, Circus Diablo, that album came out in 2007. I always call it a super group with yourself, Billy Duffy, Matt Sorum, Brett Scallions, Billy Morrison. I know that ship has sailed, but I love that album so dearly.
Thank you. So do I.
I think it's quite a memorable album. Is there any possibility that you ever see any of those band members, including yourself, getting back to doing something like that ever again? And I know you probably hate those questions, but I gotta ask it because I was like, this is just not fair. One album, that's all we get from you guys, just one.
Yeah, I know. Well, we did myself, Billy Morrison, and Billy Duffy did a corporate thing about 2 years ago when we were all on the same stage. So that's just probably as close as we're going to get. But those guys are my friends. I literally just got off the boat and moved to LA in 2005, and I knew Billy Morrison, I knew Billy Duffy. I'd known him for years from the UK, and they took me under their wing, and it was basically let's go up. We went up to Billy's little studio, Billy Morrison's, and we were just jamming around on the guitars, and we thought we'll do a couple of songs, and it morphed into more songs. And Matt Sorum got involved, and then we're making an album, and then we're going to do. And it was like, hang on a minute, everybody else is in other bands that are kind of busy, and I think that was the problem. It was just the amount of effort and commitment and financial responsibility it would take to break a new band, even at our age, some 13 years ago, when we were all already established artists doing other stuff. That was difficult to give it the attention that it deserved, and just sadly, we just couldn't commit to it. We just couldn't commit to what that would take to make that happen, because we were all involved with our day jobs, as it were. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. From an artist point of view, when an opportunity like that comes around and you get to create this one-off album, and I'm always just kind of curious how the artist feels. And we've talked to many different artists that have done the supergroup thing and maybe did one, maybe two albums at the most. I never really asked them, is there part of you that feels kind of like, I feel really maybe sad that we couldn't make more of that? Or a lot of them come across as saying it was like, it was one-off, this is what it was. And nobody's ever...
Yeah, I know what you mean. A little bit of both. I mean, like I said, we never expected to even be an album. We thought we'd do like an EP, 3 or 4 tracks, and the idea was just to do them in Billy's home studio, and then, like I said, Matt got involved, and before we knew it, we were in Matt's studio, the full studio, doing the full album. Then Brett got involved, and suddenly the thing got had wings and really started to fly. Next thing we're on the Ozfest tour, and then Billy couldn't commit to that, because the Cult were busy again, and so people were coming seeing Circus Diablo, hoping to see Billy Duffy, and he wasn't there. And it was just starting to get problematic. And, it's complicated enough doing your own stuff and being involved with your own sort of other bands. And it was just, I think it got to a point where it was getting in the way because we couldn't commit to it. And it's a shame because, like you said, I think the album is great. I think the songs on it are really, really good. I think Billy does a great job singing them. It was great for me to get to play guitar on a record with Billy Duffy. That was unbelievable. And they're still, I'm still really good friends with those guys. I mean, I keep in touch with the two Billys all the time.
Yeah. So before Circus Diablo, you were in the band The Almighty. Kind of has a little bit of a cult feel to it.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about your early days and how you got started?
Yeah, The Almighty were a huge part. I mean, really set me up. I mean, the band was massive in Europe. We never really did anything over here. We did a couple of tours and a few shows. We actually played the Cat House back in the day, believe it or not. I think we only ever European band to play the Cat House. And but it never really took off for us here. But in Europe, the band was very, very successful for about 8 or 9 years. Band was formed in Glasgow, Scotland, where I'd relocated to when I was about 15 years old. And very full-on hard rock band. Band was signed to Universal, and then we were signed to Chrysalis. And it was good times, you know. But sadly, sort of, it came to an end, and but certainly established me as an artist, and a lot of people still remember me for the Almighty, which is absolutely cool.
Yeah.
You know?
This is a kind of a little bit of a side question that I didn't expect to ask you, but I wanted you to know your thoughts on the format of the EP. It's kind of like, it seems like it's been a lost art in between the years here, and you'd think now that with downloads and what have you, or artists releasing 1 or 2 songs at a time, that the EP thing would really jump back, maybe in commercial sales, as far as like a tangible thing. But I just really haven't seen that. What is your thought on the format of creating an EP album, 5-6 song?
I think it's cool. I'm old school. I'm still a fan of that whole process, and I think it's important that bands still keep making albums and not just put out 1 or 2 tracks, because I just think it's lazy, you know, and I think, it's up to us to keep the album format alive. And so I'm EP, I'm all for it as well. I mean, I think if you have enough songs, why not put out an EP? I mean, I'm a huge fan of vinyl. I've got 3 different colored vinyls coming out for the solo album in January. And I still, Black Star Riders does well, and I do well on vinyl sales, which is brilliant, you know. It's still, in my opinion, the best way to listen to music. I mean, you talk to kids, they don't want to, well, some of them do, but a lot of them just don't want to know. They just want to go click and listen to 30 seconds or something and on to the next one. My kids do anyway. And that's fine, but our age group and our people, I still think, are still, want that physical thing, that we want that 42 minutes of just, turning off the world and turning on the music and just chilling out and listening the whole way through. And I fall into that category. I mean, that's what I love to do.
Yeah, I like to go to the record store. I like to look around and look for an album cover and look for something that catches my eye.
It's that whole ritual, you know. It's like when I used to do blow. It's like the getting the rap and chopping it out was almost just as exciting as actually doing the line of blow. You know what I mean? And I think it's like that with record shopping. It's going to the store, going in, seeing other people, striking up a conversation with somebody about music. Going through the racks of records. Getting it back home. I mean, when I was a kid, I'm sure you guys are the same. That was my Saturday morning. I would get up at 9:30. I'd get the bus into town. I'd go to a local record store with whatever my allowance was, what I could afford. I'd buy whatever album or whatever single or 45 that was out that week that I was digging. Talk to people in the record store and go get a coffee, then get on the bus and go back home and just play the hell out of whatever I bought for the next 48 hours till it was time to go to school on Monday. And I loved it. I lived for it, and I still get that buzz, going to record stores.
Yeah, me too.
So this does go to the next question about, are you a collector? Do you have a massive collection of vinyl or CD, or how does it work for you?
It's not bad. I wouldn't say I'm an avid collector. I'm not one of those guys. I've got to have the rare, pink dotted, Blue Oyster Cult limited edition, two only. And no, I'm not that guy, but I appreciate good vinyl and great artwork and great albums. I mean, over the years, moving around as much as I have, record collections have come and gone, as they do when you're in relationships and you move around. Sadly, that's what happens. But myself, my wife works in the industry as well, so she's a fanatical music fan too. So between the two of us, we've built it back up, and we've got a pretty decent vinyl collection going on.
Oh, excellent. All right, so I have one last question for you, because I know we took a lot.
No
of your
problem,
time.
guys. Take your time. It's all good.
So you and I are big into European football. I know, because I was doing a little research on you, and I know that you're a diehard Glentoran FC fan. Is that correct?
Glentoran, yep.
Yeah, Glentoran.
Yep.
And I know that you've helped them with some funding to keep the club alive.
Yeah.
I guess here in the States, it's Premier League, and we don't get to hear any more about what's going on in Ireland or the Scottish Premier League or anything like that. What is the status of the club right now economically?
It's very good, believe it or not. Even with the pandemic, The season has been put back. Obviously, the season in Ireland is due to start on October 17th because they were hoping to let fans back into the grounds. But with the UK and Ireland going back into sort of lockdown mode, that's been pushed back now. The problem is with the English Premier League, there's so much television money and advertising that they don't necessarily need the fans to keep the clubs going financially because we can just live off the TV and sponsorship money. When you go to smaller leagues like in Scotland or in Ireland, it's the fans coming through the turnstiles into the grounds that keep those clubs alive. So it's going to be very interesting in the run-up to Christmas to see where we're at with it. But Glentoran were taken over by a business consortium about a year ago and poured a lot of money into the club. And the club financially is in a very, very strong position right now, probably stronger than it's been for 25, 30 years. And it's great. We won the Irish Cup last season, which was huge. And going forward, financially the club's stable, and that's great because it hasn't been, obviously, as you read, there's been a few years where we were about to go under, and it was looking kind of shaky there for a while. But we're doing okay at the minute. We're good, I just hope we can get this thing over with and start getting some people back into the games. Same with live shows.
Absolutely. And the thing is that, if a lot of people in the States don't follow, European football. But that being said, because we don't see it in our major league sports over here, is, professional organizations go into administration, what they call it over in Europe. For instance, like what happened to Portsmouth, what it was about 10 years ago when they went into administration, and Rangers, they also in the Scottish Premier League, they went. Right. And so, what causes that to happen over in European football? Is it just the ownership doesn't have the funds to carry on anymore, or does the ownership go up for sale and they don't pour anything back into it? How does that work?
Yeah, I think it's all of that. I think it's bad money management. Obviously, I think it's overstretching your budget. I think it's playing, not putting a cap on salaries. Paying players beyond your means. I think certainly Glentoran my team were guilty of that for a few years there, buying players that they couldn't afford and then paying them wages that they couldn't afford and the club going into debt. It's like everything else in life. It's living beyond your means, and eventually it catches up to you. And I think some of these clubs, it's the same thing. They've been mismanaged, or the finances have been mismanaged. And it's a club like Glasgow Rangers, who are also one of my favourite teams. What happened to them when they're getting crowds of 50,000 plus every Saturday for a game? You kind of go, how can a club that size go into administration? Mm-hmm. But then when you saw how badly everything was being mismanaged, you sort of understand why. I think football clubs are very expensive things to run. I think I think to invest in one, you would need to be putting money in that you're not going to really expect to see back anytime soon.
So do you have a Premier League team that you support, or is that not your forte?
Sorry, say that again. I'm sorry.
Do you have a Premier League team that you support, or is that
not really? No, I mean, it's one of those things. You look out for your friends' teams. Whatever my buddies support, I'll sort of look out for their results. Like a couple of mates that are really good mates that are Liverpool fans, so I always check out Liverpool. I've got one of the guys that works for us. He's from Wolverhampton, so he's a big Wolves fan. I watch it. I mean, I've got every app and every channel that I can possibly get to watch soccer on over here. And my wife laughs. I'm up at Saturday. I'm up at 7:00 putting the Premier League on, and watching all the games. I mean, I've just been fanatical about it my whole life, and it's a real passion of mine.
The frustrating thing for me is that I'm a ginormous Blues fan. I'm a Chelsea fan through and through. I've been that way since right before Abramovich bought it. It was Claudio Ranieri was the manager at the time. That was when he bought Frank Lampard. Well, the thing that's so frustrating to me is that here in the States now, what they're trying to do is, and you've noticed this too, is the last 2 weeks the Chelsea games have been on Peacock instead of NBC Sports, and I refuse to buy any more apps or any more things to I mean, that's just, I feel like they're just taking away from the fan when they're trying to
of course you are. They're just trying to milk it. The Peacock thing, I think, is a complete rip-off. I mean, it was great when NBC was showing it. You know, it was great. Now you've obviously got to have ESPN as well. If I want to watch Northern Ireland on the international games, I've got to get ESPN. If I want to watch, you know, I can't watch the Scottish Premier League, so if I want to watch Rangers, I've got to go into the Rangers, you know, TV site and buy the game at $10 a game, and it's all about money, sadly, you know, and I think they're just exploiting it now because people like you and I will pay it.
Well, today the Caribou Cup game was on with Chelsea. They were playing Barnsley, and
6-0, right?
Yeah, 6-0. It was a great game, and the Havertz signing looks pretty good when he had a hat trick today. But you know, you're playing a small team like Barnsley, whatever. But you know, I
lived near. I lived in London. I lived pretty close to Stamford Bridge, and one of my buddies is a huge Chelsea fan, and he owns 2 season tickets. And when his friend couldn't go, and I was living in, he'd always call me up and go, "Hey, I've got the spare season ticket day." So this is the mid-90s. I think this is when Glenn Hoddle was manager. So I went and watched Chelsea quite a bit in the mid-90s while I was living in London.
Too bad you didn't buy in and become a Chelsea supporter. Darn it.
But I still look out for the results.
Absolutely. Well, Jeff, do you have any other questions?
I guess just a wild throw one out there at you.
Okay.
So if you wouldn't have got into music and you wouldn't have become the Ricky Warwick that we know today, what do you think you would have become?
Well, you know, I wanted to be a football player. Surprise, surprise. And I played. I mean, I pretty much played as much as I could up until I was about 35. Up until I moved to the States, I played pretty regularly. And I wasn't a bad player, but wasn't good enough. But I grew up on a farm, and I left school at 15 years of age, and I went straight into the family farm, and I worked on the farm for 4 years until music took off, until I signed my first record deal, and that was it. Nice. So I guess I would have been a farmer.
Very nice.
There you go. Well, Ricky, we will not keep you anymore. I want to thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys.
This has been fantastic. So, once the new album comes out and hopefully life starts going back to normal, and if you'd like to come back on to promote anything, or if you're on the road or you want to promote it, let us know. By the way, Ace, your PR guy, fantastic. What a guy to work with. He's a
good guy. He's actually one of our managers. I have two managers that work for Siren Artist Management, and Ace is one of them, and a guy called Adam Parsons is the other one. They're both partners.
Gotcha.
But Ace is wonderful.
He is, and he was, when I sent the request to him about you, I mean, he was on it like right away. So he is
great,
fantastic. So tell him thank you for us.
I'll let him know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed talking to you tonight.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it's been fantastic.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Same.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care, guys. All the best. Bye-bye.